Welcome, everyone. Come on in, grab a seat. I don't know why I always say such goofy things at the beginning. We're going to give it just a few seconds to let everyone into the webinar, and then we will get started. All right, I guess we can get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Homes Tour 2024. I'm Ingrid Spencer. I'm the Executive Director for AIA Austin, and I'm so proud to be that person and to be able to welcome you to the second webinar in our series. This one is called ADU 3 Ways, and we've got a kind of a loose theme of live, work, and play. We've got the double duty residence with Pollen Architecture and Design, the Brecker Woods residence with Hunt Architecture, the Bridle Path residence with Point B Design Group. So today I'm going to begin by introducing our moderator. Our moderator today is Brett Gregg. Brett Gregg, AIA, is an architect and the construction manager for Rouser Construction, a firm that specializes in building highly detailed, architecturally driven residential projects. She managed the City Park Residence by Alter Studio Architects, which is on the tour and is featured on the current issue of Austin Home Magazine. Prior to transitioning to the construction field 10 years ago, she practiced architecture in Austin and Baltimore. I want to thank our amazing title sponsor, Intention Construction. Without them, we could not put on the Homes Tour, so we're very grateful and just want to give them a big shout out. I want to thank the underwriters for these particular homes, Ingrained by Nature, Christina Hardwood Flooring, and Envy Builders. Thanks to all of you for your support. Gold sponsors for these particular houses, Austin Concrete Development, Austin Iron, Delta Millworks, Element 7 Concrete, Juniper Building Company, The Reuse People, Western Window Systems, and Wilmington Gordon. A big shout out to our committee chairs this year, Candace Wong and Blake Smith, and our moderator, Brett Gregg, who I already told you a little bit about. Now I'm going to turn it over to Brett to tell you more about our speakers today.
Thanks, Ingrid. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm going to go ahead and introduce our presenters and just let you know they're going to each speak about their respective projects for about 10 minutes. If you'd like to go ahead and leave questions in the chat, we'll have time at the end of the presentations to do a little Q&A. So please go ahead and I'll be checking that periodically. So let's go ahead and get started. So first up, we have Pollen Architecture and Design. Pollen Architecture and Design was founded in 2008 with an intention to connect architecture with the natural environment and to celebrate the collaborative nature of the design process. Their work draws from a modern formal language and emphasizes connections between indoors and out, daylighting, and well-crafted details. Principal Elizabeth Alford grew up in Austin and returned here after school and an apprenticeship in New York. After focusing on creative workspace projects, since 2020, Pollen's focus has shifted to houses. They are at work on a variety of new builds and renovations/additions here in Austin and the surrounding areas, California and Maryland. Pollen's Balcones house was on the AIA Homes Tour, wow, back in 2012. It doesn't feel like that long ago. And they are excited to be back again. So thank you, Elizabeth. Hunt Architecture, Nick and Brittany Hunt are both the architects and homeowners of the Brecker Woods residence. They met while working together on cultural and institutional projects at Todd Williams Billy Chen Architects in New York City in 2013. And in 2017, they relocated to Austin to build their architecture practice and raise a family. Hunt Architecture is a full-service architecture and interior design practice that specializes in custom residential and small commercial projects in Texas, New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, and California. And then Point B Design Group. Maggie Wiley is the principal architect of Point B Design Group, which she founded in 2017, with the mission to deliver an enjoyable, streamlined client experience by pursuing an effective synergy between design and construction. Point B is a full-service architecture firm with the mission to create elegant and pragmatic solutions that are a direct reflection of the owner. With her background in construction management and design build, Maggie strives to develop design solutions that are founded on candid conversations about the realities of budget, construction process, and client requirements. So those are our presenters today. Thank you guys so much for being here. And we'll get started now with the live portion of presentation with Elizabeth Alford.
Thank you, Brett, and thank you, Ingrid and the AIA. Are y'all seeing my screen okay? I'll take that as a yes. Okay. All right, thanks. I'm gonna start my timer. Okay. We call this house the double duty because it is the second house on a lot. And it's also designed to be used in multiple ways. It's live work, it works open and closed. However, it's not an accessory. It's a standalone house. And we think it's relevant because it shows that you can have a generous and delightful living space in a smaller footprint. Our clients first found us on the East Side Studio Tour, and they are very much out and about in Austin. They like to walk and bike everywhere. They wanted to downsize and they wanted to be close to Central Austin, but in a quiet neighborhood. So after an extensive search, they found a lot in the Holly Street neighborhood that checked all the boxes, but had some complicated zoning associated with it. So they came to us before they even bought the house and asked, they knew about how much square footage they wanted. And the question was, can we build that on this lot? The feasibility study we did for them, you're seeing here. And the lot was too small for 2 houses per Austin zoning. However, the neighborhood plan allowed you to build in the back if you could find a historical map showing a structure back there. So that's what we did. We also noticed that this lot would work really well for 2 houses because there's an alley. So that means that each house can have a separate entrance. It's a really wonderful alley that dead ends into a park strip that leads you down to Lady Bird Lake Trail. The other thing, we realized that one of the walls of the existing structure was within the setback, and that if we kept it, it would allow us to build slightly wider, which would give more room for the backyard. So we were really pulling out all the tricks to make the house feel larger, and it comes in at 917 square feet. This is the structure that existed in the yard, and it was filed as a renovation addition. We maintained 50% of the perimeter wall, but then once we were under construction, unsurprisingly, the building inspector required that we rebuild. The site plan is here on the right. The front house is to the south. The alley is here to the north. For this house, you enter from the alley. The house pushes into the front yard with a screen porch. And porches are a great way to extend the size of a house because they don't add to your square footage, your FAR. In the rear of the house, there is a window and window seat that extend into the backyard, which is much more private. It's in the middle of the block. And the other thing to note on the site plan is these two large pecan trees on the neighbor's property. From the very beginning design sketches, we knew we wanted to raise the roof to help the space feel more generous. And we knew we wanted to give views into those giant pecan trees on the neighboring lot. Our clients also came to us with a couple of priorities. One was natural light, and the other was that they really valued quality over quantity. They were downsizing, but they really wanted something nice. So we knew we would be using wonderful materials and really detailing the construction very carefully. Just a quick view of construction drawings of the clerestory I thought might be interesting. We were detailing the steel and the way the ceiling and eave work so that your eye goes up and out. Section looking the other way, thinking really carefully about views into the surroundings. A design drawing of the front porch. One of our clients gets eaten by mosquitoes, so it was really important to have a porch space for him. And the front yard you're seeing here, it's bounded by a steel planter, and you enter the house through the screen porch up these concrete pavers, stepping up to a concrete stoop with a steel awning overhang. The screen porch has very thin steel structure, so it feels very lightweight and doesn't block your view out. The backyard has space for herbs and a grill outside the kitchen door and is surrounded by plantings to help it feel more private. We also put in a cast concrete wall across from where the bedroom is for some real privacy. So from eye level down, you have privacy, but then above that, you're getting the eclectic mix of volumes and colors from the neighbors, as well as this wonderful canopy overhead. So it makes it a really lovely space. Another one of our clients, here it is built, obviously. Another one of our clients' priorities was low maintenance. So the landscaping is all xeriscaped primarily, and the siding is steel, which is super low maintenance. There is a custom bike rack you're seeing here at the back for parking bikes. The plan you're seeing here, you enter into the screen porch to the front door. The front door is a pivot door. The other part of the glass wall folds away. This is a system by Colby, installed by Grand Openings, one of our sponsors. The living room is connected to the kitchen. The bedroom is in the back. They're separated by a combined powder and bath. And both living spaces are wrapped by cabinetry. In each, there is a pull-out desk. In the living room. In the bedroom, there's a fold-up desk. So the spaces can be used for living or working. So stepping just inside the front door, you see the wonderful dappled light that comes in. The space is a great size for two. We used rift sawn white oak on the cabinetry wrapping this room. So all the storage they need is in these cabinets. There's also a window seat here in front of the window. You see the kitchen is connected to the living room, but tucked under this lower roof. Looking the other way in the living room, more cabinetry and the window seat. And behind this is a pull-out desk, but it can close up when they're not working. So here it is in the open position. Our clients are big cooks. We worked through all their kitchen functions and storage needs carefully with them. There's a generous island in the middle that serves both for working and food prep, and then as a table at one end. They selected for the backsplash a really wonderful stone that has natural vertical graining, and it really echoes the white oak of the veneer in a nice way. The bedroom is at the back. It is wrapped by corner windows and has a window seat. So visually, it really extends into the backyard. You're also seeing out the window the concrete wall, and there's more white oak in the chest of drawers that was made custom, and the rest of the storage in this room. The ceiling lifts up the other direction like the front porch. Oh, also here is the fold-up desk. Both clients work from home and they need to have separate spaces so they can both be on a call at the same time. And view of the bedroom with dappled light coming in, and the space feels very serene. This view you see from the front room as it carries through. White oak bedroom furnishings and bathroom. And wanted to return for a second into the living room and look at show you the front wall, glass wall. The lower right image shows it in the closed position, with this being the front door. Here it is completely opening the living room into the porch, so it extends the size of the space almost double. It can also be used for privacy. A sheer curtain draws across it here, or there's also a more solid curtain for more privacy. This is all controlled on a phone system. It's the Lutron Casita controls for curtains, shades, lights, and music. And our client is a software engineer and had fun setting all this up with the Apple Home app. I'll end on the front porch, which is a wonderful place to hang out and watch the neighbors go by. And wanted to acknowledge the great team we had working on this at Pollen. Claire Townley, John Allgood, Jack Ure, Ted Young, and a special shout out to Tori Carter, who led us through construction. We had a great build partner in Juniper Building Company, and they're also our gold level sponsor. We really enjoyed working with them. Other sponsors are Scott and Cooner, Grand Openings, Spectrum Lighting, and US Lumber Brokers. Our contact is there in the QR code. I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. I'm excited for everyone to go see this, just the level of quality and detailing and thoughtfulness in every square. How many square feet is this again?
917.
900. Yeah, so it feels so much larger. So thank you so much. It was beautiful.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll turn it over now to the work portion, to Nick and Brittany Hunt.
Hi, everyone.
Hello. See if we can- All right.
All right, can everybody see this? Hopefully. We'll start here. I'm Brittany, this is Nick. We're with Hunt Architecture, and first we want to start by thanking Ingrid and the AIA for hosting, and NV Builders for the construction of this house, fieldwork construction for the construction of the back house, and Studio Balcones for the landscape architecture. We're going to start here with just an overall model of the project and the site. This project is located in Bryker Woods in Central Austin on a pretty typical Central Austin lot, 50-foot by about 150. And there is a front main house and a back ADU. The front house is about 2,040 square feet. And that is our primary residence. And then the back house ADU is 400 square feet. And we currently use that as our office. It was important to us on this project to maintain the scale and the character of the neighborhood. So you will see here that both structures are a one-story structure, and we intentionally did not max out the square footage on this property in order to keep the one-story structure. Here we have the main front facade of the project of the main house, and a site plan here with the main house at the front, studio in the back. Unlike the last project, this one you enter the studio from the front yard of the main house or through the backyard, which is how we access it daily. Like I mentioned before, neighborhood context was really important. The scale, the overall massing, we thought a lot about. We lived on this property for 4 years before constructing this property, this house. And so we had some time to think and reflect on the important factors of the neighborhood. And a gable was one that obviously came up over and over. And so we designed for this house sort of a modern take on a traditional Austin bungalow with a mix of flat roofs and gable roofs, and selected materials that fit within the neighborhood, cedar siding, vertical cedar siding, and a brick that is sort of a long format. It's more of a modern take on a traditional brick that it's more handmade than machined. There is some texture and character to it as well.
One of the real challenges was to try and find a language that felt contextual to the neighborhood, but still felt like our style and our aesthetic.
Yeah. And then another very important thing to note, we worked hard with Studio Balcones to select mostly native plants for the landscape in the front yard and the backyard as a way to cut down water consumption and have easier maintenance for us as a family with 2 young kids. This here is the back house. This is the view. If you're standing at this back corner of our house where the backyard sort of opens up. We built this back house in 2019. So this studio, I guess I'm calling it ADU back house or studio, that was built in 2019 prior to the front house. At the time, our front house was about 1,200 square feet, and we needed some more space. And our intention was definitely not to build a new house for the front house, but during COVID and prices rose, and it quickly became evident to us that that was going to be the best way to get a larger house for our family. And so the back house was designed as an ADU, designed to be flexible. It could either be used as a full kind of apartment unit for somebody with a living room, bedroom, full bathroom, and kitchenette, or the way we use it, which is for our office. And then it has also been used as kind of a combination office and mother-in-law quarters. We'll walk through the plan of that as we move forward.
We have the challenge of fitting 2 projects into 10 minutes. So
Yeah, well, sorry.
Try and do
talk
that.
a lot. Okay.
So this, going backwards a little bit, this is the bungalow that we bought on this lot in 2018. 1,200 square feet, as Brittany said. We did multiple iterations of renovations, additions. We did some investigations into the feasibility of this, and this is a picture of what our foundation in the corner looked like. And so after seeing this pretty terrifying image, we decided that the renovation probably wasn't in the cards for this house. But we didn't feel right about demolishing a house that had been so good to us and was still a very nice house. We were just outgrowing it. So we reached out to the reuse people to relocate the house. They coordinate the sale, the kind of taking apart the house, loading it on the truck, taking it off the lot. And so we worked with them to do that. It was donated, and a retired school teacher in Smithville put it back together on a much more viable foundation. This is a picture of it coming off the lot, and you can see the back house in the back. So we worked in the back house during the dismantling of the house and then the construction of the new house. So we were very intimately involved every day for a year and a half, pretty much with the process. So we were left essentially with a lot like this, studio in the back, big open space. We found a challenge for us is that in a lot of our work, we like to pull the structures apart to allow light to come in from all sides. We always try and get light in from 3 sides of a room. And so when we have larger lots, it's easier to do that. On a small compact lot like this, you can see the outline of the footprint, and then the gray in the middle is kind of the area that's not getting any light. And so what we wanted to do was to introduce a linear kind of spine through the house with skylights to, one, help to organize the space, but also bring light into the center of the house. And so Britt's going to walk through the plan itself, but here in yellow is that skylight that extends from the front door here down towards the living room and kind of guides you through the main space and out to the back.
This is the overall plan of the front house. Main entry here, come in and either you can go into the kitchen or the mudroom. And then that opens up into the dining room, and then down a few steps, we have our living room. So on the left side of the house is kind of what we would call the more public spaces, entertaining spaces. And then the right side of the house is our private spaces with kids' bedrooms, bathrooms, playrooms, and the master suite at the back. Since this was a very small, tight, compact house, and we needed to fit a lot of program in, we did not want to waste that space on long hallways. So it was important to us to integrate the circulation space into the main living spaces. And as Nick mentioned, you can see here with this dotted line, the skylight that's bringing light into the center of the project is also defining the path that people walk through the main space of the house. This is a photograph standing at the front door, kind of your first impression when you walk in. The front of the house is quite modest in size and scale, and the inside, though, boasts a much larger and more generous space. The ceiling heights in here at the top level are 10 feet with a skylight that goes about 4 or 5 feet higher. And then down the steps here to the lower level is a 12-foot ceiling from that main living space. And so while it is quite a small footprint in a small space, it feels much larger because of the light that's coming through and the tall ceilings. Sorry, wrong way. This is a view standing in that living room, looking back up to the front door, again, highlighting that central spine through the house. You'll also see here a big design element in this house was this poured in place concrete half wall sofa, side table is kind of the piece in the house that does it all. It separates the upper and lower level while also being furniture for us. And then one thing also that's important to note here is that, we've talked a lot about natural light. It's very important, but also from a pragmatic point of view, we rarely turn on our lights during the day, and it is very nice to have a house that you can live in all day without any artificial light. This is a view sort of standing at the back house, looking back towards the front house, the back deck, and the lawn in between that separates the front house from the back house.
So if you turn from that other photo and look back, this is the back house. An older photo when you can see the old deck from our previous house when our kids were much smaller. But the idea was that from our studio, you can open the windows in COVID, interact with the kids when they were home with the nanny when we were trying to get work done. But there's, again, in the studio, we rarely turn the lights on during the day. It's plenty of light through these front windows from skylights above. This is the organization of the studio. So you enter along the side here. The work studio space is in this area with built-in material library here. There's a very compact kitchenette and a full bathroom here, which is one of the more efficient spaces I think we've ever designed. And then when this was designed, it was originally a guest room. This bed then moved into this closet as a Murphy bed, and now this closet is a print space. So the studio has kind of taken over this entire ADU. But this is an image of the main workspace with the skylights above. Beautiful light looking out to the trees. Material library here. There's cedar roof and overhangs extending out, concrete floors. This is that bathroom we were talking about, which is just one wet room, fully plastered with a custom concrete sink. The toilet's on this other side of the glass. So it's about a 6x6 full bath. And then another view here, as you enter along the side, you can see that material library there, and currently where we are sitting.
You can see it behind us. I'm just realizing now I might flip back through. Either I missed a few slides or something happened, but there, I don't think we saw those. These didn't show. And I'm just gonna go back just for 1 minute and just show you real quick. This is the kitchen in our house. You can see the brick from the outside comes in to the interior space, connecting the interior and the exterior, and concrete, precast concrete countertops here to complement that concrete wall, half wall in our house. And then these are two images from the master bedroom with large corner windows and the skylight in the master shower. Since we are so close to our neighbors, we chose to bring light in again from above rather than next to our neighbor's house. And I think that's it. Sorry.
Thank you, guys. Let's go to our play portion with Maggie Wiley.
All right, thanks, Brett. I first want to say thank you to AIA for having me, and also to my fellow presenters. The work is beautiful and inspiring, so it's nice to be in such great company. So this is the Bridal Path Residence. Get this full screen. There we go. So Bridal Path Residence, this is in Terrytown. The scope of this project was a full remodel addition and a remodel addition to the casita in the back. Just quickly about myself and my practice. My background is in construction management, design, build. So always trying to design with the other side in mind of the effectiveness and execution of what we're designing, building in tolerance, so that we can get into construction and have a successful execution. The other thing that we really try to strive for is simplicity and edited design without being minimalist or fussy. And also just making sure that this is a direct reflection of the owner. At the end of the day, they're the ones waking up here. So I want it to be a reflection of their lifestyle, what they really are drawn to, so that they're happy waking up here every day. So this project, I met the clients in 2017 when they bought the house. We'll flip to this is the existing house of what was there. And this whole project was really an exercise in restraint and adding square footage efficiently and effectively, to not just add to add or blow out the site, but to be really thoughtful with what we're adding. So the site is about 1/2 acre. So we could have done about 8,800 square feet of house. And the client they didn't want that. They wanted a nice sized home for them and their family. They have 3 young kids, and they wanted the casita to be an extension of the house that wasn't just added square footage to add square footage, but so that it would be used often. So traditionally, a guest room or a guest suite, a guest house, is only used a handful of the time because it's only used when a guest is present. And I don't think we all want guests present that often in our lives. So we wanted to make something that activated the rear of the site. The casita sits back here. And was added square footage that was going to be used often. So the house itself is 3 bedrooms, 2 kids share a room, 1 kid has their own, and then the primary, and then the guest quarters are back here. And when it's not being a guest house, it is a sound studio. It's a place for snacks when kids are playing here. It's a place to hang out and watch kids play. It really activates the back of the yard so that the entire yard ends up being used. So the existing house and the existing casita, the existing house was about 2,000 square feet. And we added 800. We added just about 12 feet out to the east, and then we utilized the existing carport for our additional square footage on the 2nd level. And then the casita was about 240 square feet, and we added 200 square feet. So it's about 460, 490 square feet. That before it had a full bathroom and a little living area, but the way that it was organized, it really wasn't workable. It was only workable for a quick bathroom break and storage. And we really wanted to make sure that the casita could be used in a variety of different ways. So we added a full kitchenette, a living space, a full bathroom, and then a private bedroom. And the bedroom itself is now used as a sound studio. So we integrated soundproofing at the windows, some acoustic paneling, and then there is a big sofa that's a pull-out couch. So this is used every day. And this is the 2nd level. That this in the gray is where the carport sits. So again, this is the existing house. And what we really like to do is be really thoughtful with what we're adding or subtracting or what we're designing in, so that there's no fluff. And we're making strategic moves that aren't incredibly expensive or labor intensive to execute, but are really highly impactful to the overall. So what we did for the main house is it's a split level house that was originally built in the 50s. This main level, which is kind of level 2, the den and garage is on level 1, level 2 is the main living. That was a really short ceiling height. And so what we did was we raised that fascia of the main living up to match the fascia and the roof of that upper level. So we have one roof, we have one fascia line that wraps the entire perimeter that is a pretty hard datum line that as you're walking around the site and walking around the house, you're becoming really acutely aware of where you are in space because of that reference point. And it's a pretty interesting thing. So when you go check it out on the tour, walk around the perimeter. Along the side, the fascia is about at eye level, and then you can walk around the back and go down to the lower yard, and it shoots up about 20 feet. So it's just it's an interesting thing that was sort of a gift of the process because we didn't change the topography at all. We just changed that one roof line, and that became this datum reference point that created a really interesting experience. So we bumped that up. We pushed out to the right about 12 feet, which is over here. And then we leveraged that existing non-conforming condition of the carport to our advantage. And we took that over for conditioned square footage. So we didn't impact impervious. We didn't have to add on extra towards the back. And it was just sort of, it was there for the taking. So we took advantage of it. This is an existing picture of the rear of the house and where that casita was sitting. This is the house as it sits now. So you can see that fascia that wraps around, that's that datum reference point as you're walking around the home. And this was the existing casita. So there was a really weird layout of space that if we're organizing space correctly and well and thoughtfully, a little bit of space can go a long way. So like Elizabeth's Pollen Architects ADU, 900 square feet in a really nicely designed layout can feel and live much larger. So it was about 260 square feet. We added 200 square feet. And this is the casita as it sits now. So we have a little covered area for parents to sit and watch kids play down here. You can go in right behind this screen to a kitchenette. So that's when guests are over, the family has guests over a lot from out of town. And mom can stay, grandparents can stay, friends and family can stay, and they have their own private space. It's comfortable, but they're close enough to the house. And then when there's not guests, you can go in here, you can hang out, watch TV, make some music. So this is a space that is used daily and often, and every inch of space is used. So that was the biggest thing with this project, was no fluff and making really strategic and effective decisions. This is that little kitchenette in there. So just enough to be comfortable. And this is from the inside looking out, and that screen is to help shield from some southern light. And then it's just 2-inch flat bar. So it's an off-the-shelf sized steel that matches and talks to the steel stair. Here we go, the steel stair at the rear. And creates a kind of lacy experience as you're walking past it, because sometimes it's very porous and sometimes it's a lot more solid depending on where you are. And that's us. So I'd like to thank Ingrained by Nature. They are a gold sponsor of ours. They're wonderful to work with. So thank you for all your hard work. This is our contact information. Please reach out with any questions, comments, and we're excited to see on the tour. I'm really excited to share this. It's one that's really close to my heart. So thank you.
Thank you, Maggie. You can go ahead and have everybody turn their cameras back on. And if you've got any questions, please do go ahead and put them into the chat. I didn't know this was a thing, all these hearts and clapping emojis like floating up the screen. I haven't seen that before. I guess I'll go ahead and just start with maybe one or two questions. And hopefully other people will jump in from there. I think one of the things that I was really following through all of these presentations is just the fact that these ADUs or you know, smaller houses, everything, they have such a strong dialogue. They have to, by nature, have a strong dialogue with the other buildings associated on the property. Can you talk a little bit more, maybe each of you, about maybe what are the elements or the maybe themes that carried through between the neighboring properties or the neighborhood context in Elizabeth's case that maybe you brought into these units?
Yeah, I'll start off. We kept a datum line at about eye level, and we're very careful about keeping things private below that, but then embracing the eclectic nature of the middle of the block above that, and then also having this amazing tree canopy from the neighbors. That's not even their trees. So we really thought that could be a wonderful space in the back. And then in the front, it's very much about watching what's going on. And part of what's great about being in a historic neighborhood that's very walkable is there's a lot of street life. And our clients really enjoy that part of it and having that porch up there.
Nice.
I'll chime in on ours. I think given that both of the two pieces of ours are our property and not kind of someone else living there, I think we wanted the connection between the two to be really strong. And because it's on the back of the lot and there's no connection to the rear neighbor, we have that big opening at our desk looking back at the house, and the big opening in the living room of the house looking back at the ADU. So I think the dialogue between the ADU and the yard and the deck being connected was really important to us.
We looked at materials too as a way to connect. We have the vertical cedar siding on both the front house and the back house. The back house has a flat roof and the front house has a mix of flat and gable. But we did think a lot about how the two would work together when we were designing the front house. I think when we were designing the back house, we weren't designing it to match the older 1940s front house. And so we had a little more freedom. And when we designed the front house, we had to think more about not only the ADU that was already built on the property, but then the neighbors as well, because we are in a pretty tightly packed historic neighborhood where the lots are smaller and you're right next to your neighbors. We thought a lot about roof lines and materials in that. And then also just, I think a general theme for us is the skylight. The skylight's very present in both spaces. And I think we learned very quickly living with a skylight in this office every day, what a wonderful experience that was. And I think we were eager to add that into our main house as well.
And for us, the placement of the casita was sort of already set because we were adding to what was already there. It was just by happenstance that it was in a really nice location at the back of that big play yard. At the main house, the space right across is the den family room, and then the casita across. The thing that ties ours together is a lot of material. The restraint of space and material. So we have the same Shishugi bond cladding the entire casita that's on the front bump out at the main house. A lot of the same interior materials just to keep a consistent palette across the board.
So I guess we as architects are always critiquing. And I wonder, you know, especially Hunt, the fact that you are occupying these spaces every day, and sort of the feedback loop of like, how is this casita, you know, 5 years on, functioning for you? And in the same sense, you know, Maggie and Elizabeth, now you've been back in close contact with these homeowners, with the home store coming in. You've asked all of these buildings to do so much. Are there things that are working exactly the way that you had thought that they would performing? Is there any feedback that you've gotten or given yourself about like, I could have stolen a little bit more space for X, or like, I'd love to hear how these are performing now.
Sure, I'll jump in. So ours, the house itself lives really well and it operates really well for the family. The casita, the sound studio portion was after it was already in construction when we started to develop that. And the thickness that you need to do acoustic paneling and that sound absorption, so you're not transmitting sound through the wall, through the window, takes up quite a bit of space in inches. And with a room that's already sort of small for a bedroom, and then shrinking, kind of closing the walls in with that acoustic paneling, if we had planned on that from the jump, we would have just built a little extra elbow room for that application.
That's interesting. Yeah.
I think,
I think for us,
go
oh,
ahead. Y'all go
sorry.
ahead.
Having lived with a detached ADU office for a number of years, I can't imagine not having it at the moment. It serves so many purposes. One of just being able to walk out to work, having that separation of leaving your house, but still being on your property. The ability to say, I'm going to get a coffee for a minute to get away from the kids for a little, like just all of those. It's another destination on the lot, which really, it would be hard to imagine not having
I
it.
don't think we realized how important it was to our daily life until we moved out of the front house while we were building it and into a rental that didn't have a space like this. And we realized how important they are. And I would encourage anybody and everybody to have one if you can. And I think another thing that surprised me is just how the uses have changed in this back house in 4 years since we built it, maybe 5 now. I guess it was finished in 2020. And it has served a lot of purposes, from, you know, my mom coming during COVID and helping with the kids. She stayed in the bedroom, and, you know, now it's fully our office. And I think that we intend at some point, probably our office will move out of this and it'll become a kids' playroom. And I'm excited to see kind of where it goes, and designing a space that can hold multiple uses on a property this small is really important.
Yeah, Elizabeth, I'm certainly curious because you said that your clients both work from home as well in that space. So there is no walk to go get the coffee in the back building.
Yeah, they're not full-time at home, just to be clear. I think it's like half and half. But it's been really satisfying to see them occupy the house and start to use it. And I think they were a really important partner in this journey, and were giving us really clear information about exactly how they lived and what kind of stuff they had. And so it's been super satisfying to see that all the planning and hard work really paid off. One thing that's not in one of the pictures is that, you know, the kitchen is like a ship's galley. Everything has its specific place. And there's this giant espresso machine that lives in the corner, and it had to have special plumbing, and it had to have, you know, lots of specific requirements. And it was so satisfying to go by not too long ago and have one of them make me an espresso. So, or see them use that. And I think from what I'm understanding, it's working really well for them. Another sort of really delightful moment was when they were moving in, sort of the first afternoon they were there, the Easter parade came down Robert Martinez, and it was like this whole little sort of street performance going on right outside their screen porch. So that was wonderful.
It sounds like it's doing exactly what it was meant to do. We're sitting how it was. Were there any challenges just from the technical sort of permitting point of view on any of these that you guys ran into from a city point of view?
Yes, always.
Always.
But there's always a solution. Ours was an existing non-conforming because it was an accessory structure that was over the rear setback. So we had to do some gymnastics and negotiations to be able to add on to it and get it passed with everything that we wanted in it. But we were able to make it happen.
Everything else is pretty straightforward for, yeah.
I think we didn't max out, I mentioned this in the presentation, but we didn't max out the lot as far as square footage goes or impervious cover. And I think when you don't do that, you can sail through permitting quite easily. I think the only hiccup a little bit was having this existing structure on the lot, but it was not a big deal.
The permitting was definitely tricky on the Haskell Street house, and we had meetings ahead of time with the city reviewer, and so once we went into permitting, we kind of knew that we were going to be in good shape, but it was a little nervous making for sure, because we were really like pushing for every square foot, but it worked out.
But that's a good sort of advocacy for planning ahead, trying to get as many of those meetings,
Mm-hmm.
you know, preliminarily.
Yeah, and also
they're
like
surprised.
working with an architect that can sort through the zoning and the neighborhood plan and know to call the reviewer and check all that. So
Absolutely. Alexandra Chavez chimed in here. She was wondering what the construction lengths were for all three projects, and were there any budget restrictions? I'm not totally sure what that might mean, but maybe Alexandra, if you can type in a little bit more specifics there. But duration on each of these?
We'll go first. I think I'll split it up into, I guess, actual construction and then the moving the house portion. The moving the house portion does take a little bit longer than a typical demo, which takes a couple weeks. This took probably 2 to 3 months to get everything in order, and the house movers are in high demand, which is good news. I'm happy to see that they're moving houses rather than demoing them.
There just aren't too many house movers.
There's not many house movers around, so you got to wait your turn.
Supply issue. Yeah.
So that took a few months, and then construction itself took about 14 months for the front house, which was a little over 2,000 square feet. The back house was done, like I said, during COVID, and that was kind of a mess because it was shut down for a little bit, and then we moved in when it was halfway done and then had it finished. So that one's a little all over the place, but
yeah. And budget for us, it was easy because there was a very clear budget. We were the architects and the ones controlling the budget and paying for it. So there were certainly constraints, but we were in full control of them.
Yeah, I would say also we have a lot more empathy toward our clients now after going through the process, the full budgeting process. We're always kind of a player in that process, but we're never, or maybe we're on the sidelines. We weren't a player. So we became intimately involved with that process and are happy to have that experience.
Yeah, and Alexandra did clarify budget constraints from the initial client expectation. So yes, but yes, empathy is always a good ingredient to have as an architect. A good playbook.
I think a challenge of designing or building a smaller house is the schedule. you don't have, you have a small space with all your subs trying to work in there. And so I think the schedule ran year and a half. We also were dealing with COVID, so it got off to a slow start. Budget wise, as I said, our clients were downsizing and really looking for something that was small but really nice. They had things that they knew they wanted, and they had a budget we were working towards. It was a healthy budget because they were downsizing from a larger house, so that worked in our favor.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna jump in that, for our project, the main house was the primary objective, and we were gonna phase out the casita. And about midstream, client said, you know, this is pretty nice. Let's do the casita too. So overall timeline was extended because of that. We also ran into some things with the main house that changed direction a few times. But the overarching was the client originally came to us for an interior kitchen remodel. And it grew, obviously, but it didn't grow based on us dictating or them dictating. It was a collaboration where it was a kind of compounding decisions that we're always trying to make sure that they were educated on the ramifications of any decision and how that would increase overall budget. So while the budget was much more than the original budget, they were fully in the know and in control of those decisions as we progressed.
Sign of a good builder and a good architect relationship.
Yeah.
Maggie and I used to work together. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I think one or two more quick questions here, and then we'll wrap up. This question is actually for Brittany and Nick. Your ADU looks like it is close to the rear property line. What's the setback from that property line, and is it within the easement?
So we are 10 feet off of the rear property line. We also have power lines running along that rear property line. So that's kind of the reason for that. And I think if you're referring to that, the image where the aerial plan cut and it looks like the fence is 2 feet off, that was just a very early image that we wish we could have pushed it that
Just
far back.
graphic.
But we have a good amount of space.
I think typically you have to be 7.5 feet off of the power lines, and then the rear setback in Austin in this neighborhood is 10 feet. So we were within both of those, or not within here, outside of both of those.
Thanks. And then actually Ingrid had a question, which I saw Elizabeth answered, but it didn't go to everybody. So I just wanted to let everyone know. Ingrid had asked about the shade in the bedroom. I wish we still had that the slide, but in the bedroom of the double duty house. And Elizabeth's response is that it's a roll down shade from the shade store. So nothing too crazy, but really effective.
It
It's
was
beautifully tucked, nicely done.
Well, yeah, I was going to mention it was tricky with a window that has an angle to get the shade. It definitely took a couple of discussions with the shade store.
Good collaborator. Well, I think that about rounds us out, and we're just past 1 o'clock. So if there aren't any more questions, I just want to say thank you again to all of our presenters. And thank you for everybody for attending. And we look forward to seeing you at all of these houses and talking, discussing further in person. So anyway, thank you again for everybody's time. And we will see everyone next Wednesday for our final webinar. I believe the technical title is like Empty Nest Full of Fun, something like that. But so we'll have 3 more projects to talk about. And yeah, anyway, thank you again, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Bye.